Hi there, it's Alon. It's Tuesday, and I'm without a tripod, so I'm going to be holding my camera this entire time. I know it's tacky and a horrible thing to do for video blogging, but unfortunately it's all I have at the moment, so deal with it. Simply because it flowed very well and was very effective for people with very short attention spans such as myself, I'm going to do the rapid fire thing that Adam did on the last post that he did. To the topic of dogs and cats. Adam, you say you like cats more than dogs because you need to respect them for them to respect you. Now, I completely agree with you that it is a little bit more complicated. It's like the Hippogriffs from Harry Potter. However, that's like saying you like the egotistical people at your school more than the friendly people simply because you have to prove yourself to them first. I'm only saying that for argument's sake. Okay, this seemed to be a big problem with you, Adam. No offense, but it does seem to be. You seem to take all of my topics completely and utterly seriously that I was actually meaning them to be completely and utterly serious. For example, comparing mosquitoes to velociraptors. That was completely a joke, albeit a very, very bad joke and not very well thought out. Hey, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, cut me some slack. Just for future reference, a lot of the things I say will not be completely serious. As in the issue with now really being now, that was more of just meant to be an interesting thing to think about that I found, well, interesting to think about. It wasn't actually meant to be, oh my god, I think people should address now as not really being now. No, that would be stupid and very unconventional. You said focus was as important as moderation. Elaborate. Yes, mosquitoes do suck a lot. Obviously they've been so abundant this summer because of the constant rain. I had an interesting experience the other day. I'm not sure whether you two experienced it. Tell me if you did. But 3 sirens went off during the day. I was moving around the entire day, going from Madison to Monona to Cottage Grove, doing tons and tons of errands. So it was kind of obnoxious that 3 times in a row I had to go into shelter, including when I finally got home and at 11 o'clock that night we all had to go down to the basement, which, yes, was very, very annoying. But hey, it at least tells you that the sirens are at least working. Yeah, there were about like 5 tornadic cells going around. They weren't like all at the same time, but during the day there were 5 cells appeared and then disappeared. So it was pretty intense. Also on the topic of mosquitoes, my dad says that his mosquito bites don't itch. Now I don't know if that's because he's just really disciplined about not itching them, or if he's actually immune to that, but if he is, then hey, I know somebody who doesn't get allergic to mosquito bites, so I thought that was pretty interesting, and that's really cool that some people do have the immunity to it. And more on the velociraptor thing, yeah, that was the only reason I compared mosquitoes to velociraptors, is because they seem to be everywhere, and every single time you opened any sort of door on your house, they tried to get in with you. I stand thoroughly corrected on the subject of music. You've got a point there that with art, the more crazy, the better it seems, or the more we are attracted to it, and logical art would seem kind of boring. Although, do you really have that much of a problem with art made up of triangles, squares, and circles? When I said logic, I'm saying, say you have a chord progression, and you're sort of hanging on a note that lasts a while, or a chord that lasts a while, and you're thinking, I know what would come next. I know what would feel good if it would come next. And if it actually does come next, then I get this sort of rush of emotion saying, oh my god, that felt so good to actually have that, you know, have them actually hit that chord, because it seems to make sense to me that they would hit that chord. Like Hans Zimmer, if you listen to this song Zooster's Breakout from the soundtrack of Madagascar, it makes so much musical sense and it feels so good as soon as he hits the chords that you've kind of been hoping him to hit. I guess what I'm trying to say is that if someone were to hit a C chord, G chord, A minor chord, and then suddenly do some crazy, you know, F sharp minor 7th chord, which I really don't know how that sounds, but I'm saying if they were to hit some random chord that didn't make any sense whatsoever, it would sound like crap. And frankly, every time I hear a song like that, it just makes me cringe that, you know, really? Did you have to throw that in there just to be wacky and crazy? Because it didn't sound good at all. I give you a parental finger shake of shame. Okay, going to bring up a new point here. Yes, I know I've talked about Michael Crichton's The Lost World a lot, and Velociraptors. Okay, yes, I really like Michael Crichton. We've already established this. However, I was reading the book, and I read the book all the way through, and then watched the movie, and the movie was unbearable. It sucked. Okay, yes, given that was a sequel by Steven Spielberg, which is kind of going to suck no matter what, but it had nothing to do with the book at all. There was barely a relation to the book. Yes, it was about an island about dinosaurs, but they took the tiny bits of the concept and then you know, just threw them into the movie. I mean, characters are different. Characters that were dead in the book were alive in this movie. Characters that didn't even exist in the book existed in this movie. They took out characters from the book. Oh my god, it was a complete mess. The plot line was different. The events were different. It was completely different. Okay, I know that a lot of movies did this, but I have never seen a movie do it as much as The Lost World was done to Michael Crichton's book, The Lost World. And that made me angry, and made me think, you know, what are we going to do in the future? Because, obviously, adaptations of books into movies have been a classic thing to do, and a very popular thing to do, and I don't have any problem with that, as long as you do it, you know, staying true to the book. But what's going to happen when it gets to the point where they aren't even basing the movies on the book anymore, like The Lost World? The Lost World, the book, was a fantastic book and had so many points, but the movie version of it was just a stupid blockbuster sequel. And it made me very angry that they screwed it up so badly that it wasn't even like the book. It didn't even have the same plot line. I guess what I'm asking is, where do you think our future in book-to-movie adaptations is going? Because it seems to be getting worse. Justin, about the mosquitoes and comparison to sex drive, that's a very good comparison. I've always kind of searched for a term to describe how mosquitoes just can't really help themselves with biting you. It's sort of built into their minds that you have to drink people's or animals' blood. They really can't help themselves. Now, obviously, it's because of the whole natural selection thing that they need to drink blood in order to survive. Well, only the female mosquitoes, because the male mosquitoes drink nectar and all that stuff. But yes, I found that very interesting, and I've looked into it and really can't find anything, but if you guys can describe something else comparable to a mosquito's desire to drink blood or a human sex drive, I'd find that very interesting. So, yep, look around. That'd be really cool. I do not, in fact, garden, Justin, but I have gone to the farmer's market and seen the giant zucchinis. We actually brought home one of those giant zucchinis, cut it in half, and grilled it, and along with, you know, spices and stuff like that. It's actually pretty darn good, so you should try that. But, yeah, the vegetables, or the zucchinis, are getting really big. Whoa! Different scenery and lighting! Hugs. I don't know anyone who doesn't like them. I think people like them so much because we sort of have that feeling of security that comes from way back when we could be killed by primitive animals at any time, and we sort of wanted to have the feeling of being close to someone else, or at least having the feeling of being protected by someone else. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts about why we like hugs so much, because they're awesome. Looking forward to your videos, guys. Adios.